Hey, it's Jeff Cannata here with my review of Need for Speed, the new movie starring Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, based on the EA video game series, racing series. So, based on a video game, 1 strike. Based on a racing video game, 2 strikes. I had very low expectations going into Need for Speed, but I gotta say, against all odds, Need for Speed is pretty darn fun movie. It's not because of the story. The story is very predictable. It's very flat and pretty uninteresting. It's basically an excuse to get to racing. Let's give our hero a reason to be racing. Let's try to make the stakes as high as possible while he's racing. Not much there. It's not exactly like they had a big, interesting video game universe from which to garner a story. But even so, this isn't what you go to this movie for. But that's okay, because there's a lot to like anyway. The racing is really fun. It's kinetic, it's interesting, it's really well shot. This is a director who doesn't have a lot of credits to his name as a director. He's been a stunt guy for a long time. He co-directed Act of Valor, according to IMDb. But Need for Speed seems like his first big major Hollywood blockbuster, and I gotta say, the movie rocks from a visual standpoint. It's awesome. I loved how the races felt. I loved how most of them were shot in the daylight. Too often these racing movies are shot at night, and you miss a lot of what's going on. It's kind of hard to follow. Everything was really clear. The cars themselves are highlighted and made to feel special and awesome, and we're racing some of the coolest cars on the planet in this movie. And the characters themselves getting into these situations, the ingenuity with which some of the races are won and or lost and or avoided. There's some Need for Speed hot pursuit in this movie. They're running away from the cops, which is a lot of fun. And Aaron Paul, who really is in his first starring vehicle, no pun intended, he does a fine job. Now, I'm a big fan of Breaking Bad, as are we all, I'm sure, and I'm a big fan of Aaron Paul. The guy is a fantastic actor, and he brings a gravitas to everything he does, and I appreciate that. However, I really feel like he was the wrong choice for this movie. As much as I like him, as much as I like what he even does in this movie, I feel like there's this chunk in the center of this film. There's a big, prolonged period in the middle where we're really doing a new millennium version of Smokey and the Bandit. Now, I went into this movie really worried that it was just going to feel like a cheap Fast and the Furious knockoff. And I'm really happy to report that it doesn't feel like Fast and the Furious. It's really doing its own thing, which is a lot of fun. And for a large part of that movie, the thing that is so fun about it is hanging out with these characters, and we're really going into cartoon land. This movie is a cartoon for a large portion of it, and that's fun. It's larger than life. They get out of scrapes in ways that you have to really suspend your disbelief for, but they're so inventive, and they're so fun, and the characters themselves are having a good time that you go with it, and you don't, I'm not a person that likes to, check my brain at the door when I go into these big budget Hollywood blockbusters. But this movie doesn't insult your intelligence so much as it just brings you into a universe where all that stuff is okay. And it's not played off as stupid, it's played off as clever. It's just the laws of physics aren't particularly well adhered to. And that's great. I'm having a great time. And I just wish we had a main character who was a little bit more in on it with us. This movie straddles 2 very disparate tones. One is really serious and dour and concerned with, life and death and these heavy feelings. And then there's this large chunk in the middle where we're just having a blast. We're having a good time. We're hanging out with our main characters and having a good time. And while Aaron Paul does that dour, melancholy kind of intensity stuff great, and those sections really work because of him in this movie, I think the movie shines much more when we're having a little wink and a nudge, and I wish we'd had more of a Burt Reynolds kind of lead actor. So it really was embracing its Smokey and the Bandit-ness more. I had a great time when we were all, high-fiving and getting away from the cops. That was a great time. And I was really excited because here was a big-budget action movie that I thought we got this close to getting through the entire thing without a single gun. Like, we can have a fun action movie and it doesn't have to have a gun. And there's a couple of hicks that shoot a shotgun in the middle, and that's unfortunate. But for the most part, this is about awesome racing, and the racing itself is so cool. Does it feel like the video game? I guess. I mean, the video game is kind of just a flimsy excuse to have this cool racing action movie. And if the video game informed the director to use some new angles, for example, there's a lot of in-cockpit view stuff where we're right there with the drivers and we're looking at them steer and then we're looking out the window, and that stuff really sells it. I really felt like these people were actually driving. It was fantastic. And I never felt like the cars were CG. I'm sure there's a lot of CG in the film, but I never felt like that. It really felt like real cars really racing and crashing into each other and flipping over, and oh man, fun stuff. And as I said, the interaction between the characters is great. I didn't really feel like the main character and the main female character had much chemistry. We're supposed to buy into them sort of falling for each other, and it really wasn't. I know I keep using this example over and over, but it really wasn't Sally Field and Burt Reynolds. They didn't really click, and there wasn't sparks to my mind. And that would have been nice to have two leads that really felt like, oh my gosh, I want these two to get together. But for the most part, really fun. If you can ignore some, clunky dialogue, a story that is entirely predictable 100% of the way. But who cares? Who cares? The fun we're having racing these awesome cars and seeing where they take this cross-country journey. It's a lot of fun. Okay, spoiler time. So if you haven't seen Need for Speed and you want to avoid spoilers, I would say stop the video right now. Maybe come back after you've seen it. There's a lot of stuff that's pretty lame in this movie, and I had some big problems. I love the fact that they've got Michael Keaton in this movie. Whoever managed to get Michael Keaton to sign on to do his little small part in this movie is a genius, because he makes it work, man. He brings that energy. He brings that winking to the camera. He brings that charisma, even in his just small sort of sitting in one room doing basically what I'm doing now, which is, talking into a camera. I had a hard time believing the premise of his race. This idea that there's this super underground race that everybody gathers around their computers to watch streamed online, when everybody's just watching little triangles move on a track. That's what people are excited about. And even he himself is somehow able to give commentary on the race just watching little triangles go around a track. Really, guys? Come on. We also have a character who has visions. This is why he's important to our lead. The young kid who, of course, is going to eat it. He has visions. That's what we're going with so some dumb stuff, but for the most part, I was really pleasantly surprised with Need for Speed. I would recommend it if you're into cars at all. Then you got to see this movie. If you're into racing movies, if you dig that kind of fun, edge of your seat, busting around a corner, it's really well shot and a great time. Just, understand you're not going to get any revelations on the story. You're not going to get Citizen Kane here. All right, that's my review of Need for Speed. Those of you who are subscribed to this channel know that we're into a new era. I'm not doing the big, long, newest, latest, best episodes, but we got the box. We got newest, latest, best mini episodes for you. It's just going to be me doing reviews, and we're going to have a lot more action on this channel, so I hope you stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to be reviewing some more movies this week. Stay tuned for that. I'm seeing The Raid 2 tomorrow night, so you should see that soon. And I hope you subscribe, and I hope you like what you see. Thanks a lot.